Hello. Hello. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay. So a very warm welcome to all dignitaries, honorable principals, respected teachers. In today's session, I feel very proud to be a part of this session. Today's topic is focusing on competency-based education. So before I start the session, I'd like to say something. Why do we need competency-based education? Actually, CBSE has launched the assessment framework for science, mathematics, and English to assign classes from 6 to 10 with the NEP version of achieving goals, gathering the standard in assessment through competency-based education. For this, CBSE has collaborated 3 agencies, namely, first one is British Council, second one is NARIC, and third one is Alpha Plus. So these 3 agencies are working continuously to have the competency-based education in a proper manner. And for this, 40 assessments, designers, 120 test items, and 360 master trainers are working continuously. In the first phase, Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, Navodaya Vidyalaya, UT Chandigarh, and private schools are slotted first to get the whole curriculum competency-based education. Nearly 25,000 CBSE schools will be rolled out till the end of 2024. Now, to make understanding competency-based education, we can understand through what? What is competency? So before explaining the term competency, just listen. Every child is different from another in his own ways of learning. Different people have different minds, different ideas. Suppose that in a classroom, if the students are 30, so 30 students have 30 minds, 30 ideas. And every child adapts different ways of learning depending upon the place and time. Challenging task for teacher to teach, taking consideration diverse ways of learning. There is no single method of facilitator. Learning of each and every child is single, and a teacher needs to know how to combine different methods and make suitable variations. In a classroom, a group of students nearly same age, controlled by a teacher, accommodated within a specified period of time. 3 key aspects of classroom. What are they? The teacher, the student, and the subject matter. So in a classroom, there are 3 components or aspects. First one is a teacher, second one is the students, and third one is the subject matter. So what is the aim in the classroom? the aim is to enable students acquire knowledge and understanding of the concept. Now, correlate to the traditional education and competency-based education. In traditional education, the focus was completely on understanding and exam-based. Suppose that we have the study, firstly, we across the matriculation, then after we have the intermediate, then graduation, then post-graduation, then professional degree, and what after that? After that, the competency is needed. Suppose that if you have acquired the knowledge, now you have to put up your competency. Through the help of competency, you will get a job. So to getting a job, this is the competency level acquires. Now, what is the exact competency mean? So there is no any specific definition of the term competency, but some statements are there regarding competencies. What are competency is essential skill, knowledge, attitude, and behavior to perform a real world activity. Essential skills need to be effective learner. Without effective learner, you can't have the skills. So skills performed under a specific conditions and a specific standard. We can understand it through an example. Suppose that 4 people are making a training to drive a car. So one people can take 2 days, other people can take 3 days, another people also can take 4 days. So different aspects are there, but what is the goal? The goal is to how to drive the car safely. And how can you get the result? When they will drive the car safely on the road, that is the result. That is the level of competency we can get. So this is the competency which can examine your skills. Without skills, you can't have the competency. And without competency, you can't have the proper work in the proper manner and proper situations. Now, there are some natures of competency. So for competency, there are 4 natures. What are they? The first one is achievability. First nature of competency is achievability. It refers to skill, knowledge, attitude, and behavior that can be achieved. Second one is measurability. It is defined, hence can be measured. Without measuring, you can't have the nature of competency. And third one is communicability. What is communicability? Understood by everyone. Your communication should be good and every could be understood, concerned teacher and student also. Now, last one is appropriateness. Without having appropriateness, you can't have the different standard or levels depending upon the characteristics of a learner. So these are the 4 nature of competency. Now, the competency have different levels. First one is primary, second one is secondary, and third one is higher. So different aspects of levels are there, and already we have discussed that the government is planning to have only 3 subjects, the competency-based education for only 3 subjects, mathematics, science, and English. So as English, the competencies level is what? For primary level, language competency is needed. First one is language competency, second one is mathematics competencies, and third one is environmental studies components. Now, what are the purpose of competency-based education? The purpose of competency-based education is first, measure student learning rather than time. There is no any particular time. In Europe, there are grading system. Suppose that for post-graduation degree, there are grading system, 20 points are there. So if a student acquire 20 points within 14 months, that is the competency level, because he acquires his total points, targeted points within less span of time. So this is the level of competency, and it is rather removed from the traditional education, because suppose that you have enrolled as a degree program, so you must have spent your time in 3 years. You will be able to complete your graduation between 3 years, and that place the competency, if you have the competency within the short span of time, if you can prove your competency level, you can acquire your knowledge. So purpose of CB is first measure student learning rather than time. The second one is, now the second point is what? Harness of power of technology for teaching and learning. Without having harness of power and technology, we can't have teaching and learning process. The third point is fundamentally change the faculty role. Without having a proper faculty role, the purpose of CBE, competency-based education, will not fulfill. So on fundamental basis, the faculty role is important. Now, the fourth point is define competencies and develop valid, reliable assessments. So time to time assessment is needed, because in earlier times, not earlier times, in today's also, some of the teachers or schools are following the traditional pattern. Suppose that we are in the mind that we have the unit test, we have the half yearly examination, we have the annual examination, and the targeted is fixed. The particular curriculum is fixed. Within the particular curriculum, the students are able to have the examination, and that is the target based. But this is not the level of competency, because unless we have the traditional pattern of education, because what? Develop valid, reliable assessment. Time to time assessment is needed. Skill based is there. We can think just like the area of the engineering field. Just you can see that in engineering examination, suppose that if you are having the BTech or BE degree, at that place what? Traditional education is not there. Traditional pattern is not there. What? Because at that examination, the questions will ask within the text, not from the particular after the chapter. The subjective questions, the objective questions, short answers are there. No, they examine, they have to make the questions through the text. I mean, if you have not the enough or the expertise or the completely knowledge of the text, you are not able to have the proper answer of the particular questions. That is called a skill based. We need to have to develop the skill with among the students. And how can a skill develop? It can only with the proper assessment. Assessment means what? Don't have the traditional pattern. We have to make the total analytical understanding, application based questions will be there. Without having the application analytical understanding capacity, we will not able to have the develop our skills. So skill is needed. Without having the skill, because everybody has knowledge, but what you can put without having your skills, you cannot assume your knowledge. Now, procedure for CBE, competency-based education. What are the procedure for CBE? The first one is design. The second is development. And the third one is implement. So three components, three procedure for CBE are there. Now for design, what we have to design? To set training approach. First point in design is to set a training approach. The second point is to develop learning purposes. The third point is to determine operation scale. And the fourth one is to design education. So in designing, we must have the training approach, learning purpose. What is the purpose of learning? Without having the purpose, your design should be not clear. And to determine operation scale, you have to make the proper scale to determine the operation. How will you operate that particular design? And last is to design education. So these are the four components in designing. The second one is development. So in development, what we have to do? In development, we have to do to prepare learning guide. Before preparing the CBE in the development form, you must prepare the proper or learning guide. Learning guide should be there to verify a task. Before giving the task, after making, you must verify that the task is correct or not. And third is to prepare course plans. Without having course plans, your CB will not effective. And fourth one is to prepare auxiliary medium, guide, test, to review materials and procedures. To make your test successful, the material should be good, or review your materials before this. So these are the components in the form of development. Now the third point is implement. Now this time you have to implement here. Yes, some teachers are raising hands. Yes, you can write your comments in the chat box. We will resolve later. Now, the third is implement. To implement a course plan. Without having implementation, you can't have the course plan. To train, to do derived assessment. Assessment is needed, and to train a document. So these are the components in implementation. Without having these, you can't have. Now, the characteristics of the CBE. So characteristics of CBE what? Learning should be self-paced. Without having self-paced knowledge, your CBE will not effective. The second is flexible training approaches, including large group methods. We should make the students, we should make the task in the proper large group, small group activities, and individual. It all can be in the form of the large group also, small groups, and individual study. Essential components are there. So these things are the flexible. This is not mandatory that only large group is there, only a small group activities is there, or individual. We can have all three are as essential components. Now, the third point is satisfactory completion of training is based on achievement of all specified competencies. Satisfaction is needed. Without satisfactory completion of training, we don't have the achievement of all specified competencies. The fourth point is supporting theory is integrated with skill practice. We must have the supporting elements to integrate the skill practices. And fifth is essential knowledge is done to support the performance of the skills. Essential basic knowledge for that is needed to perform your skills. The sixth point is participants' knowledge and skills are assessed as the the program. To having the entrance of the program, we must the participants have the knowledge and the skills both to enter in the program. And last is competencies are carefully selected. You must have, because without having the carefully selection of competencies, your work will be not effective. So competencies is needed while selecting. Last is variety of supported materials, including print, audio, visual, and simulations models. Key to skills being mastered is used. We have the different supportive materials like models, skills. These things can be used in variety of supporting our materials. It is method of instructions involved. Your methodology should be there, instructions should be there, mastering the learning that premise all the participants can master the required knowledge of skills. Without having the proper essential knowledge or skills is needed. Without having the proper knowledge or skills, the instruction is not involved. Provided sufficient time, it will take sufficient time and appropriate training methods. Without having the appropriate training methods, these situations will not fulfill. Now, function of CBE, competency-based education. First one is curricular criterion. You must have a proper curriculum. The second is delivery criterion. The third one is assessment. So first one is curricular, second one is delivery, third one is assessment, fourth one is reporting criteria, and fifth one is certification. So these 5 components are needed to having the proper function of competency-based education. First is curricular criterion. What is this? The curriculum gives learners a clear identification. What is expected of them in terms of performance. In curricular criterion, performance is the main. Conditions and standard. Your performance, the conditions and standards should be clear. The second is also, if appropriate, workplace and off-the-job training, assessment responsibilities should be identified. What are the proper liabilities or responsibilities in assessment? These should be identified in the proper manner. Second type is delivery criterion. What is delivery criterion? Delivery is flexible and learners can exercise initiative in the learning process. Those who are the learners, they have the proper initiative to get the exercises in learning process. So in learning process, the learners could have the initiative to do the exercises properly. The second is learning materials used by providers indicate the degree to which program delivery is learner-centered. 3 things are there: teacher-centered, learner-centered, and what about the things are there. So learner-centered means the learner should be in the proper centered manner. Third one is assessment criterion. In assessment criterion, the first point is your assessment should be what? First, measure performance demonstrated against a specified competence standard. Your performance should be demonstrated against a specified standard. The second is be available for competencies gained outside the course. Having the course, you must have the outside competencies, outside knowledge of the course will be there. And third one is include workplace or off the job components if appropriate. If the proper components are appropriate, including workplace or the off job. Fourth one is reporting or recording criterion. The first is reports of competencies gained should be provided to learners. The competencies gained should be properly provided to the learners. This is the mandatory. The second is reporting maybe in terms of completed modules. Different completed modules should be there. That will be provided. What? The relationship between competencies and modules is understood. Without having the competencies and modules in understood, your relation should be not clear. So reporting may, your reporting should be what? In terms of the completed modules, provided the relationship between competencies and modules. Now, fifth one is certification criterion. What is certification criterion? Person demonstrating all prescribed components in an accredited course or training program should obtain a credential or a statement of attainment which is recognized with the national framework. Now, we should have the minimum levels of learning. Without having the minimum levels of learning, we could not have the successfully competency-based education. Competencies are arranged in hierarchical order. The first point is we must have the competencies in the arranged way, in hierarchical order. Second is mastery on each competency is required. Each competency of master is needed to move the next competency. Because if a child, suppose that you are having the test of mathematics for grade 5. So different students level mind are there. Suppose that one student has completed the first level very soon. So what is your duty? Your duty is to have the second test, second level or third level or fourth level, different levels you should be there. And after that, if he has completed all the levels, then what we have to do? We have to do the next step. I mean, some riddles question will be there so that you can get the different competencies level. What are the levels? We can just have the examine through the competition. Third one is mastery learning strategy is recommended with aim to achieve minimum level of competencies. And we can have just the 5 points. What are they? First one, we have to make a plan. Then after planning, we have to teach. First one is planning. Second one is testing. You have to make the test. And fourth one is after having the result, you must have it. Those who are in the poor performance, you have to reteach. And last, again, you have to retest. So these are the things which you can examine the competency level of the students. 5 components we can have. First one is plan. Second one is teaching. Third one is test. Fourth one is reteach. And fifth one is again the retest. So these are the things we have to keep. Now, points taken into consideration while adapting these things. First point is preparation the list of competencies before the start lesson. First point is what? Before start your lesson, the must thing is what? Preparation of list of competencies. What are the components of competencies? Either they are listed or not without having your proper starting of the lesson. Second is careful construction of statements for definite statement. We have to make our statements in a proper and careful construction mode. And third one is arrangement of competencies in order of increasing difficulty. Suppose that one step he has completed, another difficult situations will be there. That's why we can get the level or the competency level of the student. Step by step progress of a student is needed. If he acquires the first step, then we have to move the next, then again next, and different levels we can just have the examine. No move to the next competency if one is not achieved. Suppose that one student is not achieved the first level, that level he will repeat the again. You don't move forward the second level because he has not completed the first one. Fourth one is decide criteria for assessment. This is the very important point because students have the different level of minds. If you will have the assessment, the same assessment to all the students, your competency will be not involved because different minds are there. What are the level of mind they have? Different assessments should be there. Suppose that one genius fellow is there, one dull fellow is there. So your assessment should be not equal. Assessment should be different according to the understanding level or the criteria of his. The fifth point is use of variety of instructional techniques, group activities, multiple methods to attain the mastery. We have, suppose that we have given a project. So that project is distributed among 5 or 6 students, and when they will have the group, they will do the different ideas with one project will be there. So after different ideas, a good product will be concluded. So different ideas when they will divided into different groups, and after that mingling one group, one idea is created after different having minds. Next, provide immediate feedback. Feedback is very necessary in competency-based education because what does the feedback do? The feedback, what is the role of feedback? Feedback is what? What the knowledge requires by you is just putting in your feedback form because their analytical capacity or analyzing capacity will be there. After analyzing the whole text, you will able to have having the feedback. So feedback is needed to students to take the corrective measures because without having the feedback, you cannot have the corrective measures through the assessment. And last point is allow students to continue the program until the demonstrated mastery. Suppose that you have just cleared one topic in the classroom. So the entire classroom must have the mastery over the particular text, which you have already discussed in the class. And when that criteria is fulfilled, really your competency level will be there. Some useful approaches should be there. First one is, what is the purpose of having the competency based? In traditional education, the rote memorization, we can say that ratta mark. So earlier we have the focus on the rote memorization. But why did the government has planned to implement the CBE? CBE means totally skill based or outcome based education. If you have the outcome based education or skill specific education, there is no need to having to indulge the competency level. Suppose that in real trends, so many things are launching like robotics, AI, artificial intelligence. These things can examine the real minds of the particular fellow. But if you have the traditional pattern, just go to the class, explain the term, and give the questions or answer, and your target is finished. No, your target is not finished. So having to remove these obstacles, the government has planned to do the AI, artificial intelligence, robotics, computer-based learning, and skill-based. So firstly, what skill-based? Suppose that if you are having the vocational trainings or professional trainings, you must have the mastery over that, and you cannot be faced any problems or any challenges if you have the professional training of the particular context. That's why the competency based is needed, and government has decided before 2024, most of the schools will get the facilitation of the competency based education. Earlier, we have planned from class 6 to 10 and only 3 subjects, but it should be implemented in each and every subject, because this is the effective real teaching is that when your output is there. It's not meant that just go to the enter the class, give the lectures and come to the after finishing the class, just your work is finished. No, your work is not finished that time. Your work finished when the skills developed among the students. That is the real meaning of the competency based education. So some useful approaches we must have to do. First one is what? Away from the root memorization. Second one is learn today cannot be forgotten tomorrow. Whatever you learn today, it should not be forgotten, because when you having the ratamar or rote memorization, definitely will get forget. But if you have the skills, if you have the competency over the mastery, competency means what? Mastery over the particular context. That is the real meaning of competency. So if you have the mastery, you will never forget any context, whether it should be asked within the short span of time or without span of time. It's totally depend on the mastery or the competency level of yours. The third one is assessment are continuous. Your assessment should be continuous, not that suppose that I have make the assessment of the level first, again I have to make the second level, third level, and different levels. That is the different assessment. So as the modes of assessment should be different and directly linked with the objectives and learning experience. What are the learning experience? What are the learning outcomes? Because without having learning outcomes, your work is not finished. Your work is not effective. So to make your work effective, you must have the learning outcomes. Suppose that when we plan the lesson plan for the classroom, we must write the learning outcomes, learning objectives and learning outcomes. Both are there. So what are our learning objectives? And after the class, what are the students able to get? That is called the learning outcomes. And without having the learning outcomes, your work is not finished in the proper manner. So it's totally correlated with the competency based, and it's also called the output based, because when output is there, output means whatever the work you have done, and without having the output, your work is what? Your work is zero. And when you have the output in the form of the competency, that is needed, and that is the best performance. Second is assessment result use further improvement. If you have the result after the assessment, it's improved. Suppose that the student has got 40% marks in your assessment, then he will try to more in the next test. That's the further improvement is needed. Without having the improvement, your plan is not succeed. And for that, what we have to do? We have to do the remedial classes, the remedial coaching for low, because low achievers are there in the classroom and high achievers. Two types of students are there. So those who are low achievers, we must have the particular special assessment, a special focus on that low achiever students. And for that, what we have to do? We have to do the remedial classes. After the class, we have the remedial teaching and enrichment programs. Enrichment programs, why it is needed? It is needed because without having the enrichment program, your work will be not successful. So time to time, we must have the enrichment programs. Those students, it is only for the high achievers, because if they will adopt, they will acquire the particular level, the enrichment program is different. So we must have the enrichment programs to the students. Now, what are the process of competency-based education? There are some steps to having the process of competency-based education. First step is what? Understand the benefits and challenges of competency-based education. First step is you have to make the understanding level of the benefits and what are the challenges for the CB. Second step is evaluate and catalog the objectives of academic program. You must have to evaluate yourself in the whole academic program. Third step is review the curriculum, structure of the program, and the list of the core competencies is available. You must have to review the whole curriculum time to time and the structure of the program. So one question Ravi Chandran had asked, I have a doubt, sir, competition can easily lead to stress, anxiety, and disappointment, especially if it promotes academic competition between individual students. Easily lead to anxiety, disappointment. Yes, of course, sir, of course. I totally agree with you because the having the assessment anxiety will be there because the two persons are there, high achievers and low achievers, both are there. So time to time examination, and if suppose that I have got that 90% marks in the evaluation and my friend has acquired 70% or 60%, then definitely he has made the disappointment to see the result. But it's not ignored. This can be there and we have to improve. How can we improve the 20% in the next assessment or in the next examination? So these are the things we must have to follow. Now, step 4, consider adding missing disciplines and skill set to existing program. You must have the adding disciplines. Without having the skill sets, the existing program is not successful. Step 5, make the core competencies of program publicly visible. Your program should be publicly, because without having the publicly, you don't have that. And sixth step is solicit feedback. I have already discussed about the feedback from the students. Without having the feedback, your target should not effective. Now, mode of competency based. What are the modes? There are 3 modes we have prescribed for the competency based education. First one is downloadable. Second one is read only mode, and third one is classroom interaction. These 3 are the modes of CBE, because if you have the online materials, we can having the download mode. Second, reading, the comprehension test and reading is there. And third one is classroom interaction, because classroom interaction is more effective, because interaction between the teacher and students having in a proper manner, and there what should there? Their different mind, different ideas are there. And when we have the different minds, different ideas, after that having one idea, that should be ever effective. Now, first one is downloadable, made empowers to offer education in a dynamic form to the students. They can access lesson assignments, submit their script online, because online process, online portals right now, there are so many Diksha and other platforms, learning platforms are there, and we can have the good knowledge or the perfect knowledge through this online mode. Second one is they can be download their lesson notes and lesson access archive lesson tutorial sessions, lectures. Everything is available. So many learning platforms are there, and we must go download it and just make it in your learning process. Third is method of instruction involves mastery learning. That premise all participants can master. Yes, mastery is there. That is the competency. If you don't have the mastery over the particular topic or the particular context, your mastery, so you will not be the competent. So knowledge, required knowledge or mastery knowledge is needed for that, provided sufficient time and appropriate training methods. You must have sufficient time. Now, read only mode. Students will be able to only read the course concept, downloading the and interacting the unavailable. They should must have the reading. Third one is classroom. That one is best. Classroom interaction is what? The interactive learning provides an environment for students to talk and discuss freely about any related topics online. And that can be in the two forms. First one is X-chat and mailing groups. So you can see here just interaction is classroom interaction. You can see in the picture classroom interaction is there, and different questions, different assignments, different assessment are there, and they are doing for that. And if they have the different minds on different assignments, they should must have the proper interaction. So X-chat, instructor and participants can talk with each other. In X-chat, what we do have the participation and participants interaction. Both can talk to each other, discuss on the related topic for a stipulated time. With all classroom interaction is there, the time is stipulated and it is given by the instructor. Second is mailing group. Mailing group is what? Participants can become member of mailing group by registering their names. They can have the registration or registering by their mail, particular mail in their particular group. Once it is approved by the instructor, participants can get the IDs. Suppose that we have the training program, so we must have the particular ID and password to get this. So in that mailing group, they should be registered with their name, and after having the verification, they get the ID and password. Second is, this way, course instructor or any other participant can reply to questions that will be read, and all the members in that group, including the instructor. That is the mailing group. Now, what are the advantages of CBE? First point is participant will achieve competencies required in performance for their job. This is the real advantage of CBE, that after having a good competencies and performance, you will get a better job. Second is participant build confidence. If you have the mastery or competence level, you must be confident, and if you have the confidence, there will no problem arise there as they succeed in mastering specific competencies. Third point is self-pacing. Participants can move quickly through material. They know or take more time if they need. If they need, they will take some more time. Fourth is participants receive a transcript or list of the competencies they have achieved. That is the advantage of CBE. Fifth is provide standards for determining how well learning has occurred. Because standard should be there. Without having the standard level, your learning should be not effective, both at the individual and organization. It could be, yes. Yes. One more question I have doubts that competition can easily lead to a stress, anxiety. Already we have discussed with the student. What is your opinion? Yes, sir. I am totally agree with you, sir. Next. Disadvantages. So disadvantages of what are the disadvantages? First one is competency-based course is only as effective as the process used to identify the competencies. When little or no attention is given to identification, the essential job skills needed. Second, unless initial training and follow-up assistance prior trainers, there is a tendency to teach as well as the taught. Yes, that is the disadvantages of competency-based test. Now, activities of competency-based. What are the activities we have to follow in competency-based education? First one is learn. Just see the group. In the first image, the people are in the process of learning. They are discussing on the particular topic or the particular context. And second picture, you can see after having the learning process, now they are accessing. Because if you have the knowledge, the acquired knowledge of the particular context, and you don't have the accessing, accessing means what? In the form of the practical, whatever you learn in the theory, unless you have the practical on the particular topic, your activities of competency is not effective. So first point is learning. Second point is accessing. And these are the essential activities in having the competency-based education. Now, why the government has launched competency-based education? Actually, the government has planned to implement this in the year of 2017, and continuously from the year 2017, it's continuously going on. And after that, they have made some particular agencies. What are the agencies' names? Already discussed in the earlier. And again, I am repeating on that without having the collaboration. CBSE has made the collaboration with three. What? First one is British Council. Always British Council is involved in the CBE. Second one is NARIC, and third one is Alpha Plus. So these three agencies are continuously working on that, and it's the target of the government that before ending of the 2024, 25,000 schools have to be the competency-based education in their schools, because it is total job-oriented, skill-oriented. Earlier, we have only focused how to just examine, how to pass the course, because in traditional education, what we do, just we enroll in the course, having the examination, term examination or annual examination, and after that get the degree. But it's not the enough time when you acquire the degree. After that, one more thing is there. What is that? That is the level of competency. Without having, suppose that 5 people have the same degree and the post is 1. So is it possible to have the 5 people to get the job? No, because vacancy is 1 and aspirants are 5. So in 5 aspirants, those who will qualify or have the mastery of the particular knowledge or qualify the particular examination, he will be the winner and he will get the job. The same situation, to see the situations, government has planned that we must have the skill-based or job-oriented courses, because if you have the mastery or a skill on the particular subject, you need no having to search the jobs. Right now, government has started so many startups. You must be aware about the startups. Through these startups, we can get having more entrepreneurship. You must have the entrepreneurs. You will be the job provider if you have the different startups working on that. So how can you start the startups? For that, your ideas should be clear. You must have the different ideas, the peculiar ideas. And if the ideas are in the creative mood, definitely you will get the entrepreneurship. So the purpose of having the competency-based education is that. And this is the target of the government, and it is collaborated with the CBSE, and CBSE has already working on that. It has already assigned to the different agencies that without failing, we must have to promote, and it's not possible to having the whole in one. No, it should be gradually. Right now, there are 40 assessment designers are working on that particular competency-based education. 180 test items are there, and 360 master trainers are already available. They are getting the mastery about the different, in the first target, KBs, NBS, UT Chandigarh, and other most prominent private schools are involving there. Then after, gradually, the government has planning to do this curriculum or this activity education in the whole school. And suppose if the whole school will follow the competency-based education, what will be there? There will be no need to having to search the job-oriented, because already if you will have this skill, if you have the particular mastery about the particular subject, you don't have to just be the traditional learner, the traditional pattern. And what we do in NEP 2020, in 1986, what it was called? It was called NPE, National Policy of Education. That was called NPE 1986. but in the year 2020, it was inflated in the form of NEP. So NEP has also involved. So now we must have the competency-based education. It's also called the outcome-based. Without having outcomes, output, your work is not finished. Your target is not finished. And what will be the reaction? Reaction is that you don't have the work. So whatever the work is provided to you, suppose that as a student, what is your work? Your work is to getting studies, learning process, and after getting the learning process, you must acquire the knowledge. And after getting the knowledge, you must have the mastery over the particular language or the particular context. This is the whole curriculum based education, and the purpose of having the competency based education is the in real fruitful manner. Thank you. If you have any questions. Yes, if you have any doubts, any questions, just you can uh, write in chat box. Okay, just write your questions in the chat box if you have. So dear participants, if you have any queries or doubts, you can ask or chat, write in the chat box. Okay, do you have any questions? If you have, just write in the chat box. Feedback link is already shared. What is the meaning of know how to students? Yes, you have the actually keep in your mind that how will you know the levels? You must have understand the level of the students. Suppose that in your classroom, if the 20 students are there, so if you have taken the classes regularly, you must know that what is the level of the students, and after that, if you know the particular level of the particular student, then you make the assessment of the different levels. Sir, apart from the class, I have forward mails regarding my certificate. I have not sent. Why attendance submit नहीं हो रहा है? Renju sir, someone has written that attendance submit नहीं हो रहा है.
Attendance is working. There is no issue with the attendance.
Is it working? Okay.
Okay, attendance submit.
Okay. Any doubts? If you have any doubts or questions, you can write the chat box. Someone has demanding, sir, attendance link again. Ranju sir, please provide attendance link same. Yes, already shared. So do you have any doubts or any questions? Dear participants, if you have any questions, just ask. Sir, will you please suggest how can I refill this attendance link with my register? So what's the problem? Already link is working.
If you have submitted ones, that is enough. Don't worry about the registered one or something. Don't worry the Astharaj. Okay, don't worry about the ID. We'll send the certificate to schools. We have already sent all the certificates up to January to the schools. You can contact your principal for the same. If still it is not received in the schools, you might have entered any wrong credentials in the attendance link, because many a times what happens, I couldn't get the name. Instead of the name, few of the cases we have observed that the resource person name is entered. So without a name, we cannot generate the attendance. So in such cases, we were unable to generate certificates. So any issues related to attendance, you may talk to your principal. So the principal will contact us.
Again, they are demanding attendance link, sir.
You may please scroll up and get the attendance link.
Scroll up.
It is
already
just above
so many
the
times
message you have
shared.
sent.
Yes. Ranju sir.
I don't
Ranju sir.
understand why they are not getting the attendance link. It is just above 2 or 3 messages. And maybe because of late joining.
Thank you, Nutan ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Pushkal sir, for your contribution.
Okay, so sir, I leave.
So yeah, now I think we have to leave. Attendance link is
There
already
is no
shared.
question
Mr.
from the
Deepak Kumar.
participant side. If you have
Please.
any questions or doubts, just you can raise or just write in the chat box. Otherwise, we will just finish the session. Dear participants, if you have, just raise or ask your questions. Otherwise, we will finish the session. Do you have any questions? Okay, Ranju sir, there is no questions. So
Okay,
shall I
sir,
leave?
you may leave, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you.